Hello, welcome to the CDF Technical Oversight Committee meeting. Today is April 12th. We have 8 contributors on the call. Thanks to everyone for joining. So what we have in our agenda for today, we have some introductions because there were changes in project leadership, etc. Then we have a discussion for TOC elections. Then CDCon and user award, like requested by Roxanne. And also there is a request from Artelius for the Kubernetes environment. So let's start from the first topic, introductions. So Adam, would you like to go first?
Sure. Let me just see if my video will actually start. Here we go. Hi, so my name is Adam Kaplan. I'm one of the maintainers for Shipwright. I work at Red Hat, and I am going to be replacing Jason Hall in his role on the governing board as he is going to be departing Red Hat soon. So I will be Red Hat's representative on the CDF governing board.
One question about that. Do you plan to be on the TOC too? Because
yes. Sorry. So yes, I would be very happy to join the TOC as well.
So for TOC, so it's basically elected governing board seat. So my understanding for this process is that it has to go through governing board elections as well as with other roles. So we have a number of seats open, which is the next topic. So we can see for that.
Great.
So basically, Jason explicitly withdrew from the TOC because I sent a message. Oh, hi, Jason.
Hello.
Yeah, I believe I sent you a message somewhere, but I don't recall whether you withdraw from TOC.
Yeah, my intention is not to remain on the TOC, but I, at the same time, would like someone from Red Hat to be on the TOC, and so there is a transfer process. Then I would like to transfer to Adam, and if not, then I would like to. I don't know.
There is no transfer process, so basically the governing board should re-elect the nominations. But yeah, this is something we can follow up with Michelle because we have to do elections in the governing board anyway. Because the position for Garima has expired, the position for Fatih has expired, and also for Dan Lawrence. So for Dan Lawrence, it's a bit more tricky. But yeah.
Okay.
So thanks a lot for the introductions. So anyone else? And just for the record, whatever the governing board decides, you're welcome to participate in the TOC as a shipwright representative because we need people here. And yeah, basically it doesn't really matter whether you have binding vote or not. Any contributions are welcome.
I don't think we have like a representative for a Jenkins X at this point. So maybe we can also add one seat for that.
So what I did before, just to share my screen. Do you see my screen? So actually I took some liberty and proposed contributors. I mean, we have a formal charter for TOC contributors, so similar to what CNCF has. And 2 weeks ago, I basically proposed that we add all active participants as TOC contributors. And you can already see your name here.
Okay, that's good.
So if it works for you, I just assumed that you are the only one from Jenkins X participating in the CDF community right now. So we should just go ahead.
Okay. Sounds good.
That's fine by me. I'm also from Jenkins X, but I think I'll let Ankit do that. I'm just kind of curious what's happening here. That's all.
So Chris, if you want to participate, it's also perfectly fine.
Mm.
So,
Yeah, I don't know if I can be in all meetings, but I'm kind of
mhm.
happy to tag along when I can.
Yeah, so we have meetings, we have Slack chat where many discussions happen these days. And I believe that we should be more and more synchronous when it comes to discussions. So yeah, hopefully it will be comfortable for everyone.
Great.
Okay, so any other introductions before we move on? Then the next topic is TOC elections. So just to show you what happens, we had a conversation with Michelle and Stephen Chin in a governing board mailing list regarding the state of the TOC and the elections. But yeah, you can see the current TOC list here, and you can see that some positions have already expired. So, for example, Dan and Fatih, and many other positions are about to expire just in a few months. So basically, in the CDF TOC, we have only 1 year terms, and it was a surprise for Michelle because in CNCF and other foundations, usually the terms are 2 years. So basically, we need to run elections for all the roles. So governing board needs to run elections, and also we have to run elections for the project seats. And we have an open question for Dan Lawrence because Dan is TOC appointed. At the same time, our charter doesn't document what it means. Actually, the new charter assumes that there would be 2 end-user appointed positions, but there is no TOC appointed position. And I guess we should follow that in these elections. But the question is how we do these elections, how we organize that, who would be running them. And maybe it's a question for Kara, because we can just see how we could actually plan all these activities.
Okay, I don't have a direct answer right away for you, but let's continue offline. We can start an email thread and look at some things.
Yeah, the question is basically what is the expectation for project elected seats, because it's not clear whether the TOC should be running it or not. For other positions, it's quite clear. So we have end user committee, they should do the nominations with the governing board, maybe with elections. Same for governing board appointed positions. It's a question for the governing board, which we need to care of, but it's a separate topic. So basically, Adam and me and Fatih are there. Yeah, basically that's it. So for us, the question is for project leads. Basically another question if so my term also expires on June 30th. So if we need to have a TOC chair, it's also something we will need to discuss how it works.
Hey, Oleg.
Yes.
This is Tracy. You know, I don't know if there's an opportunity for us to change those election terms, but 1 year is kind of crazy. They should be 2 years. But I think that if there's a way to create a term that is, we do need it to be rolling in some way, so we have new people coming in. But to have the entire board change at the same time is a bit drastic. I'm thinking that maybe we should be looking at that and changing it to where 3 or 4 roll off this year or have to be reelected. And then so every year you have 3 or 4 people who are being reelected to the board, like half. So there, you have elections every year, but not everybody it leaves the board every year. It seems kind of crazy the way it's written.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And basically, CNCF and other foundations have rolling upgrades, say, for Jenkins governing board, and this is what I would like to see here. The question is whether we can basically change the charter now. Personally, why not? But
yeah, I think that you guys should look at changing the charter now, and maybe we have to. I guess the board has to address it, but at least you would say, have half of you raise your hand and say, okay, I'm planning on leaving. Like we know that Jason's leaving, so there's one open spot. But how many are total? Do we know how many are total on this board?
So currently it's 9. At the same time, there is some unclarity because, so for example, Garima is appointed as TUC member. At the same time, there was misconnect whether she's appointed or not. But anyway, it's up for election and up for
so that she
GP.
I think that she is, because she runs the ambassador program. I think that she has not a seat, but an invitation, but I may be wrong.
So
she's not a voting member.
When I was discussing it with Tracy, she said that the Garima is a full member of the TUC. And I played along, but I cannot exactly say what it is. Anyway, it's up for re-election, so we can determine it for the chatter. But basically, who steps down?
So there's nobody on the board on this call, right? Yeah, and I don't know what that one is, the TOC appointed. I have no idea what that is.
Well, it's not in the charter, and Dan explicitly said he's stepping down, so I guess it doesn't matter anymore.
Okay. So then there's 8, and there's really 7, and then you have the ambassador chair gets a seat, which makes it odd. It makes it odd because I guess that makes it an odd number.
Yeah, I guess we should just remove ambassador chair from the TUC per se, because we should definitely have, we should have an odd number, even number. Odd.
Yeah, so I think that there's 7 really. There's 7 plus 7 plus Garima, or whoever's going to be that ambassador chair this time, which makes it weird to have an even number, right?
Yeah, so we have a charter we can refer to.
Card, I think that somebody needs to bring this up to Stephen Chen and see if the board needs to actually be the ones to change the bylaws. And then we would just have 4 people up for election this year as opposed to everybody, because that just seems crazy to lose that knowledge.
Yeah.
Or you do everybody and you have half of them 1 year and half of them 2 years, and that'll get the staggering going.
Yeah, that's the other way. Everybody has to be reelected, and some are elected to 2-year roles and some are elected to 1-year roles.
Maybe as one of the options. So we have clarity who's actually on the board according to the updates the governing board approved from the previous cycle. So 4 project representatives, so basically elected, firstly nominated through projects, and then another voting round, then 2 end user members, and 3 representatives by the governing board. So that's it. So these are 9 seats. It doesn't really matter whether 3 seats they can add anyone, including Garima as ambassador chair, or maybe somebody else. But generally it's elected GB seat. So currently we have Jason, which is not transferable, so it would need to be confirmed by the board. Also. But yeah, otherwise it's just 3 seats by GB, and here we have these 3 seats.
So would you scroll down again under? I thought I saw something there. It says voting members will be elected or appointed to such for 2-year terms. However, they may employ a number of one-year terms in order to stagger appointments and elections to the TOC. So how did everybody get one-year terms?
I guess it's we can just use git blame. I believe this is the only way to know. But yeah, so basically when we were updating the list, then yeah, so Tracy basically put these terms here. This is it. I don't have any information whether it was discussed, etc. But yeah, this is basically what we had.
Quick, just add another year to some of these people's terms, and it's done.
That's what I think you guys should do. I would add another year and have like I say, just find out who wants to end their term or go through the election process again. And because it's not that many, it's because you've got 4 that are from the committee, the projects, and then you have. Yeah, I think we should just add another year. I think you should add another year term. I think you should add another year term for all of those who are if we're elected by the projects, and then everybody else gets reelected, has to go through a reelection, and then that puts you on your 2 years. You're staggered because that's the intent of what you just showed us. Anyway, that's all I'm saying.
I'm for getting to that state, and it sounds like we don't even need to change the charter to get to that state. I do think we want to, in the spirit of transparency and collectiveness, I think we should propose this in some way, maybe in a PR, but propose it and then get some votes on it from GB folks if it's if they're the governing board seats that are changing the term, or at least a sort of TOC vote that this is all what we want. But yeah, I'm very glad to hear that we don't have to change the charter. Apparently, we just need to change the terms of existing folks.
Yeah, so the charter was copied from the CNCF. Yeah, so maybe one question we need to discuss is, does anyone else want to step down from the board or from the TOC?
So I think you already have your numbers. If you look at who's up there, who should go through if you keep the 2-year appointments from the project, so the projects don't have to reelect somebody unless they have to, like Jason's role, you would have Garima would be gone. She has to be reappointed anyway as an ambassador chair. So she's that's just an appointment, so you don't have to worry about that one. The ones that would stay would be Jithan, Oleg, Steve, and Jason. Are those the only project ones?
No, Andrea.
And okay, yeah, that's right, and Andrea. So there's 5 that would stay. So the other 4 would need to be reelected as an election for the board, and then they would have 2-year terms, and then the other 5 next year they would have to go through an election from the project side.
Yeah, that would get the staggering back on track.
But this year you would have one for Jason because Jason's leaving, and so that project would have to reelect somebody.
No, because Jason is appointed by the GB. So basically, yeah, if we keep it as this, all project seats remain closed. So we will have 2 end-user appointed seats. And also GB basically re-electing all 3 members. So we have a refresh for 5 members and 4 remain.
I think that sounds like a good way to do it. And then you'd have it staggered.
Yeah, one question we need to cover in this case is whether it's fair in relation to other projects. Because what happened last year, basically we had 4 nominations and we had 4 seats, so there was no even elections. but we have more member projects these days. So if we increase term for all project leads for another year, I wonder what is opinion of other projects, let's say Jenkins X, Artelius, well, no, Artelius is Steve, but yeah, we have Shipwright, we have other projects. So the question is whether we keep it.
Yeah, I don't see Spinnaker on here. Anybody from Spinnaker on here?
Well, to be honest, I do not see Spinnaker in the community at all, but it's a separate topic.
I also wonder too if you have a staggering of like general elected project seats versus then you have another cycle of the governance board and end user seats effectively, if that also is kind of a good dynamic to have. Whereas if you have not only just the rotating elections, but also rotations within each kind of like sub-election, so that like the governance board seats, there's a rotation there. The end user ones, there's a rotation there. So that way there's like no like hard transition within those groups.
So basically, as long as all representatives from these projects are fine, we can just roll forward. So the question is to Chris and to Ankit, whether you're fine from the Jenkins X side.
Yeah, I mean, should be okay.
Mm-hmm. So basically, it's just for binding votes. It doesn't really impact anything else, in my opinion. Okay.
Oh, sorry, what was the last part?
So basically, if we extend all project elected seats for 1 year, it means that, for example, this year Jenkins X wouldn't have an opportunity to participate in TOC elections if there is interest to do so.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fine for now. We are still creating our own, like TOC and like governance bodies and stuff. So I think we need a bit of time to create our own community stuff. And that sound is from my office Slack. Sorry, it says hummus.
Yeah. So for CD events, it doesn't seem to be a problem because we have a lot of people here on the call from participating in CD events every time. So what else? Shipwright. So I would assume that Adam, basically, if he gets reelected from by the GB, it covers Shipwright. And Spinnaker, for Spinnaker, again, I don't see them in the community. As a TOC chair, I tried reaching out a few times to recover their participation without success. So for both vendors of Spinnaker. So I guess we can keep it as is.
I still think you're going to have to go out to Spinnaker to make sure that if they know that they can have a seat on the board, it wouldn't make sense not to have them here.
Okay.
If they don't want to elect anybody, that's their choice, but we should make sure that they know that they should have an election and identify somebody.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. So I will take an action item to reach out to them. Maybe somebody from the governing board and the CC, because again, I'm currently not confident about Spinnaker's state as a project at all. But it's a topic we can discuss offline. But yeah, it seems, yeah.
I can circle back with you, Oleg.
Okay, so yeah, let's follow up.
Yeah.
So I know that we have Spinnaker Summit, so some things are still happening. So let's see what we can do. Okay, so we have a plan. Anything else regarding elections?
Can I just ask for clarification? So what we're going to do is we're going to keep the project seats for 2 years, and
if
sure.
there is no complaints from Spinnaker or from anyone else in the mailing list or from the governing board, I think the answer is yes.
Okay, and does that square with Adam's suggestion, which from my understanding was that the 2 subcategories should also have staggered? Did I understand that right, Adam?
Yeah, so that is my one concern, is that you're still going to have hard transitions within each subgroup, that we don't have like true staggering.
But do we really have problem with that? Well, in the current composition, so yeah, we have end user appointed seat, we have GB appointed seat, but basically from TOC contribution standpoint, all of us are the same.
Right.
So I don't see particular difference. So I would be happy, for example, if the GB agrees that, for example, Fatih remains on the board for another year as an user representative. I'm perfectly fine with that. But yeah, so if you want, we can just suggest that.
So Adam, I understand what you're trying to do, but I think it might be adding a little more complexity. And there isn't ever a time that only the projects have their own meetings. So it's just the TOC board. So I realize what you're saying in terms of the projects having to rotate and then the other positions having to rotate, but it's really just one board. And to keep it simple, I think just figuring out a way to stagger the 9 that you have. And we may need to have 11. I hate to say that, but if Spinnaker had somebody on the board, we'd be at 10, which puts us back to an even number. So we might have to add an individual to make it 11, maybe from the user community. I'm not sure. But I think that.
Go ahead, Tracy.
I think this year the easiest way would be to extend the current projects for another year. And then we would add Spinnaker and we would add, so they would be off from the projects, which doesn't matter. All you're trying to do is create a rotation within the TOC board itself.
That makes sense. So yeah, from simplicity standpoint, yes, current plan makes sense.
Okay, so next steps is basically I will just format this proposal and send it to the mailing list so that we can more or less formally vote on that. And if there are any objections or second thoughts, we just can discuss it there. So basically nothing is slated in stone right now. Okay. So moving on then. Okay, so the next topic for us is CDCon and user award. So Roxanne asked whether we could make a decision who would get this award. At least this is my understanding. So there is a message in the TOC mailing list. Basically, we just need to vet the nominees and say whether we agree with these nominees or not. Well, maybe we can suggest more nominees, but yeah, it's not explicit. So what we have on this list, so suggestions include eBay, Capital One, and Del Boomi. So the question to the TOC members is whether you see any problems with any of these particular companies or whether you would like to see other companies.
No, I think that list works for me.
Any objections? Comments?
Nope.
So basically, we just approve all nominees. There will be still election, and this is something for the team to organize. Okay. So eBay, Capital One, Delbumi. Okay. Then I will send a summary to Roxanne, but if there is no other concerns about that, we can just move forward. And two next topics are about infrastructure. So basically a question from Artelius for Kubernetes environment and Jenkins X for the infrastructure. So one of the things that we have a pending request to the Continuous Delivery Foundation to actually acquire accounts on all major public cloud providers and define usage and budgeting policies for that. So there is an open request to the Continuous Delivery Foundation. Well, it has been open for quite a while. Yeah, taking all the events, it's not a complaint, but yeah, right now, basically, I can just emphasize that we still need that if you want to onboard more projects and to fairly balance infrastructure resources between them.
Yeah, and just to clarify what Ortelius is looking for, we are currently running under the Deploy Hub's account on Azure, and that the money is running out on that account. So we'd like to transfer the Ortelius, what Ortelius is doing to somewhere else. We don't have to have a standalone cluster for Kubernetes. We don't mind sharing, but we do need to move to a spot that we can use it. The amount's pretty low. I think it's like $800 a month or something like that, or less. I can get the exact numbers, but it's basically for our testing environment. And like I said, we can share with somebody else, so we don't need anything standalone, and we don't need a particular cloud provider where we can land wherever.
So, well, if I understand correctly, currently Microsoft Azure is being used just by Jenkins. And for Jenkins, maybe co-locating the account would be an option to discuss with the infrastructure team. But I'm not 100% sure it's trivial because we have a lot of automation for management of everything. So maybe actually creating a separate account would be more reasonable.
Yeah, however it works, then we just need to know the process and the next steps on that. I think we're good until like June, so we got a little bit of time.
The only thing I really would add to this is make sure that you document and detail what you need on the GitHub issue.
Okay.
Okay, great, thank you.
And which does that go in the TOC as an issue or the foundation?
I believe the foundation, unless there's a yes. Okay.
Yeah, so all other infrastructure requests go to foundation GitHub.
Okay, we'll get that taken care of.
So we have a number of requests there. But yeah, I guess if there is a present need for Artelius, we could find a way until full policies are defined. Okay. And for Jenkins X, so Ankit, would you like to take it over?
Yes. So at this point, we are using, like Google for the tests. I have asked for, like access to the billing account because I don't know how much money we spent. I also feel that we can decrease our costs a bit. So if we can do that, then can we allocate some of the resources for other, like cloud provider accounts, like, like Azure or, like Amazon. I personally think that for like Amazon, we can do away with like $200 a month or maybe 250, like not even more than that. I mean, because we have some very basic tests for now, and as we grow, like we might need more things, but it's not going to be like, I don't know, 1,000 to begin with. It's like it's going to be less for now, and then maybe in a few, I don't know, months, or I think in like a few months we can scale.
So one thing I can add, last time we talked to James Rawlings, he said that GCP running cost is something like $200 per month.
Okay.
But yeah, I cannot confirm it 100%, plus it's all data, and yeah, it obviously highly depends on the contribution traffic for Jenkins X.
Yeah.
So I also don't know the exact numbers, but my understanding that Jenkins X account still, it hasn't been transferred to the CDF yet. Is it right?
I think it was. I mean, I did ask somebody in like CDF to give me access to the billing account. So so if I go to the project and click on like billing, it takes me to the CDF billing account. So I guess it was already transferred.
Okay, then it's easier.
So assuming that we can decrease the costs, what would be the process for asking for other cloud provider accounts? Just curious.
For now,
Oops.
It's not a
lost
now
cover.
question. Okay.
Yeah, let's wait a bit. Yeah, so just maybe to answer the first question, why car reconnects, either is fixed amount, not really according to the current budgeting of the CDF. So there is general infrastructure budget confirmed, and then there is, let's say, more or less fictional quotas assigned to each project. But yeah, as long as the CDF as whole stays within the infrastructure budget, everything is fine.
Okay.
So yeah, just to answer the question, and Kara seems to be back, so maybe we can return back to the original question.
did my answer not? Did you not hear my first answer? No. Okay. So all I was saying was this first step is just please be as detailed as you can on what you need on the GitHub issue. That's still the stage we're basically at, just gathering all the information, and then hopefully we will have a process in place to actually give people the infrastructure that they need.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you.
Maybe one of the questions, should we try to get Nathan also involved into this conversation for the infrastructure and processes? I'm not sure what is his timeline for helping with the Continuous Delivery Foundation. But yeah.
So was that a question for me? And who is the individual? Nathan?
Yeah, Nathan.
Oh, Nate. Oh, I don't have an answer for you there. I'm not actually sure what Nathan is handling right now. But what I was told is that when the new GM onboards, that is who will be able
Okay. And yeah, for that, if I understand correctly, we don't have news right now. So we...
Not yet. Soon, hopefully.
Fingers crossed. Okay, so basically submitting GitHub issues, and I guess for now we can find a makeshift solution for any desire. And then we will try to merge these makeshift solutions to something more or less permanent once we have bandwidth and the foundation to have it. Okay, sounds like a plan. Okay. So does it answer the infrastructure questions right now?
Yes.
Yep, thank you.
Joe? And do we have any other topics? Actually, one topic is kind reminder to everyone to vote in Doodle for time slots for meeting times. So basically, if you're interested to participate in TOC meetings from time to time, every time, with binding vote, without binding vote, it doesn't matter. But please just vote in Doodle so that we can find a time. Because right now it's really difficult to select any time slot. So we can stick to this time slot by default because it's basically the previous time slot. But I'm not sure how it's comfortable for Europe, for example, because it's beyond working hours. At the same time, it's still quite early for the United States West Coast. So when I was looking at voting results, let's say we had no consensus for any time slot, which kind of welcome to distributed environment, but we need to find a solution.
And we may need to revisit this once we get the elections done too.
Yes.
May bump it a little bit, but we'll either way. Like you said, it's hard.
Yep. So for me, when I proposed changing the meeting slot, I had only one item on the agenda, being able to participate in the CNCF TOC meetings, because for me it seemed really odd that we have these meetings at the same time. But now, well, thanks to the CNCF meetings being in East Coast time, basically things are solved for me anyway. But if you can find a better time slot, I think we could switch. Right now, the current time is still a winner, according to the Doodle. Okay.
I have two quick announcements before we close out.
Go ahead.
Okay. Early bird tickets for CDCon are still available. Please, shout out to your communities. The other thing is, I found out that we have, this is good news, we have 35 virtual tickets to give away for KubeCon in Europe. That is happening next month. So my preferred way of doing this is that we would allocate them out to the projects, and the projects would either give them to, say, students they know are involved in the projects who could benefit from a ticket, or give them out as sort of gift prizes for any of the really involved community members who are not attending KubeCon in person. So, suggestions on how to quickly move forward with that, because I realize time is, ticking.
Yeah, maybe one quick option is to consider GSOC students from the previous years, because for them it would be challenging to buy a ticket, but they might want to participate.
Yes. Okay.
So for me, it would seem the first straightforward way to use this ticket.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. I think I have a number of those lists, but I'll follow up with you, Oleg, because I'm sure you just to double check. Great.
If anyone has any other ideas and proposals, just drop them to the chat. I guess we have KubeCon channel on the CDF Slack, or just using TOC, so that we can aggregate that. Okay. Anything else for today? Then I guess everyone can have 10 minutes back. And thanks a lot for your time. So we got the video hosting process sorted with Roxanne. So the video will be hosted soon. Okay.
Great. Thank you, everybody.
Okay.
Everyone.
Thanks.
Thanks all.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thanks, Oleg.
Bye.